Welcome back, America. Along with ranked choice voting, there's an important fight that gets revived every presidential election cycle, and it revolves around, yep, you got it, the Electoral College. So far, there are now 16 liberal-leaning states that have enacted the National Popular Vote Bill that guarantees a presidency to the candidate who receives the most popular votes. Well, our next guest has been working overtime to save our Electoral College and end the idea of ranked choice voting, two things I'm pretty sure our founding fathers would have a lot of trouble with. Trent England, the founder and executive director of Save Our States. Trent, great to have you on the show. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. It's great to be here.
It is amazing. Just a little while ago, the 16th state joined Minnesota. Kind of concerning. We're up almost to a third of the states.
Yeah, no, this National Popular Vote Compact is a real threat to the Electoral College, to our system of federalism, to election integrity. And, we're seeing these blue states join the National Popular Vote Compact. Basically, it's sour grapes from 2016 and really not thinking about what this means to the future of our country. This would allow a candidate with a small regional plurality of the vote to become president, completely eliminating the safeguards that the Electoral College has put in place since the beginning of our republic. So it's very dangerous, it's very partisan, and it was unfortunate to see Minnesota join the compact this year.
Yeah, and it's so odd. This is like fixing something that isn't broken, right? It has worked so well over the course of our history, and our founding fathers really enacted it, the Electoral College, that is, specifically so that no one state like California, New York could hijack an election. But that seems to be what this movement's trying to do, empower a couple of big elitist states to bowl over middle America.
That's right. I mean, the Electoral College is very fair. You go back a century, and Democrats and Republicans have perfectly split the number of elections that they've won under the Electoral College system, right? So this is not a system that tips one way or the other. What it does is it says you can't win with the biggest states alone. You can't win by running up the score in Los Angeles, in New York, in Chicago. You actually have to go out and build a nationwide coalition. These folks behind the compact are trying to undermine all of that. They don't want to have to talk to middle America. They don't want to have to listen to small town and rural Americans.
Right.
They really want, they want those people to be their serfs, and they can govern the country from the big cities on the coast. It is it's a view that is directly contrary, as you say, to this careful system of checks and balances created by the founders.
Yeah, no doubt. It is remarkable. Another one that kind of fits right along, in fact, the sort of same mindset and the same actors is ranked choice voting. A real big concern. You take a look at the New York mayor's race. I think somewhere between 100 and 200,000 voters ultimately didn't have their votes cast on the final ballot because they got ranked out. They hadn't filled out their ballot down to the last person. Why is that? Why would liberals, under any circumstance, want to disenfranchise voters? Because that's what ranked choice voting is doing, right?
John, that is a great question, and that is exactly the question that we should be asking, because you're right. There were over 120,000 ballots that were just discarded in the New York mayor's primary because they didn't either understand the system, they didn't like the system, for whatever reason, they didn't use the system. And so those voters had their voices ignored, wiped out. And we know, because there was exit polling in that race, that there was a disproportionate impact against minority voters, particularly Black voters in New York, were far more likely to be disenfranchised by the system. Really, what you have going on here, it's not just Democrats. It's really these progressive elitists behind both the National Popular Vote movement and the ranked choice voting movement. They want to shift power to their sort of elitist centers of power, the big cities. They don't care if it's complicated. They don't care if it disenfranchises voters, as long as it benefits the left in general. And they think it's going to do that. They have flipped a congressional seat in Maine. They flipped a congressional seat in Alaska. So so far, it's certainly helping the left to win elections. But really, they just don't care, and it exposes the lie that they've been telling about things like voter ID. Right? They said, "Oh, voter ID, we can't do that because it's complicated." Well, ranked choice voting is way more complicated than having having ID. right? I mean, we see something like a quarter of voters in some of these elections who don't seem to understand the system, don't use the ranked choice voting system, right? If the left was honest about what they're doing, right, they would own up to the fact they're really just trying to rewrite the rules to tip them in what they see as their favor, to help these progressive elitist candidates.
Yeah, and we saw just this last few weeks here in Arlington, Virginia, where the first time it was employed there, and lots of heartburn. I want to talk about the solution because you have your coalition chair for a very important project called StopRCV.com. StopRCV.com. Tell us what that is. I know it does a great job educating voters, but tell us when you go to that site, what benefit we're all going to get.
Yeah, so what we're doing at stoprcv.com is we are rallying people to ban ranked choice voting, right? So this is not something where we're just on defense. We are going on offense. We're getting states to ban it, and we're winning. Only Maine and Alaska have statewide ranked choice voting laws. We now have 5 states. It started with Florida and Tennessee last year.
Right.
And then this year we added 3 more states. We have 5 states that have banned ranked choice voting at every level in those states. This is a huge victory for conservatives, a victory for voters. And it's really exciting. I know we feel like we're on the ropes on a lot of issues here. This is something we can win. And frankly, it's because conservatives get it, but also there are lots of folks in the middle, and there are even some folks on the left who, and we've seen this in places like Oakland, California. I mean, there are NAACP chapters they've come out and said, wait a second, we're supposed to be pro-voter. This is completely anti-voter. This is completely elitist. And so, we found that even some of the folks on the left who we disagree with on a lot of things understand that ranked choice voting makes voting harder for voters. It makes voting harder for election officials, and it makes the results harder for everybody to trust. So we are banning ranked choice voting state by state, and we're on a roll.
Yeah, well, common sense is beginning to prevail, Trent, because of the very great work you're doing at Save Our States. Great to have you on the show today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, my friend. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll be joined with one of the great legal and election scholars. He was appointed by President Trump to the Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity. We'll be right back with him right ahead.